Welcome back to Whisper Hex. Somewhere in the middle of the city stands an apartment complex that doesn't just house people. It deletes them. Not physically, not violently, quietly, legally, digitally. The building has a normal name, a normal address. You can see it on the street, but try searching it online. Sometimes it loads. Sometimes you get a 400 for error. Sometimes the location pin floats slightly off the map, like it can't anchor properly. City records list the property owner, but not the tenants, because once you move in, your name begins to fade. This is the story of the silent apartment complex that erases every tenant from the city census records. And the terrifying part, the people inside don't disappear. The world just forgets them. It started when a former mail carrier reported something strange. He said he delivered letters to Unit 3B for over 6 months. One day, he scanned a package. The system flagged the recipient as non-existent. He assumed it was a database glitch, but when he checked again, the name wasn't just unrecognized. It had been removed from the national database entirely. No social security record, no tax history, no voter registration, no trace. But he had handed that person mail the day before. That's when investigators began digging. And what they found was worse than a glitch. The building is designed differently. The walls are layered with sound-dampening material. You can't hear your neighbors. You barely see them. Hallways are long and softly lit, making facial recognition software unreliable. The elevators don't use traditional key cards. They use internal lease codes that aren't connected to standard credit systems. The complex markets itself as privacy-forward living, no background checks, no credit reports, no public tenant listings. To some people, that sounds appealing, until you realize what it really means. When you sign the lease, you aren't just renting space. You're detaching your identity from the city grid. Within weeks of moving in, small things happen. Your gym membership stops renewing automatically. Your voter registration becomes inactive. Your online accounts start requesting re-verification. And when you try to confirm your address, it doesn't exist in the drop-down menu. The building is physically there, but digitally, it's a void. One resident agreed to speak anonymously. He said at first it felt freeing. No junk mail, no targeted ads, no data tracking. But then he tried applying for a new job. The HR system couldn't verify his address. Then his bank froze his account pending identity confirmation. When he checked his social security portal, it listed his status as inactive, as if he had died. But he was still paying rent, still breathing, still walking those silent hallways. He described it as feeling like his life was being unspooled, like threads of existence were being pulled loose one by one. And the strangest part, the building's internal Wi-Fi network leaves no trace. Devices connect, data flows, but nothing is logged externally. Emails sent from inside the complex often vanish. Messages arrive blank. Attachments corrupt into static. The structure behaves like a black hole for digital identity. Everything that passes through it loses definition. There's also a legal layer. In 2026, new privacy laws allowed certain protected housing zones to shield tenant identities from public census tracking, originally meant for witness protection and high-risk individuals. But this building exploited a loophole. By registering as a protected residency cluster, it legally blocked census integration, meaning the city doesn't officially count the people living there. No population increase, no voter shifts, no recorded occupants. From the outside, it's just concrete and glass. From inside, it's a residency without recognition. And over time, that lack of recognition spreads. Friends stop calling. Algorithms stop recommending your profiles. Facial recognition at airports flags you as unverified, because the world runs on data. And without data, you begin to fade. The hallways are the most unsettling part. They're too quiet. Footsteps leave no echo. There are no corkboards, no nameplates, no scuffed paint. It's as if human presence refuses to leave marks. Residents describe a psychological shift. You stop introducing yourself fully. You stop correcting people who misremember you. You stop posting online, because slowly, you feel less real, not invisible physically, invisible administratively, legally, socially. You become what some call a ghost tenant, someone who occupies space but doesn't exist on record. And here's the terrifying implication. If something happens to you inside that building, who reports it? If your name isn't on the census, If your address doesn't register in city systems, if your ID is inactive, how do you prove you were ever there? The apartment becomes more than housing. It becomes a tomb for the legally invisible, not because it kills you, but because it deletes proof that you lived. Urban analysts have begun noticing similar complexes emerging in other cities. Privacy forward, data minimal, census exempt. At first glance, they seem progressive. But what if they're architectural parasites, feeding not on bodies, but on identity, scrubbing names from ledgers, erasing faces from databases, until entire units are filled with people who technically don't exist? And once your identity is fully consumed, there's no dramatic disappearance, no headline, no missing person alert, just silence. Your apartment empties, your lease expires, a new tenant moves in, and your name never appears anywhere again. No record, no trace, no census count. Just another hollow unit waiting to unspool the next life. So if you ever move somewhere and notice your accounts glitching, your address not verifying, your existence becoming harder to prove, leave. Because once the building finishes consuming your identity, you won't even be able to prove you were erased. If you want the full investigative breakdown of this silent complex and how to recognize the warning signs before it is too late, like, subscribe, and comment below. This is Whisper Hex, and some homes don't shelter you, they subtract you.